welcome again. So ultimately our goal is to help you elevate your grappling so together we can keep real wrestling alive. And we're talking about how to learn catch wrestling. But I think you can apply this to say like Sanda or any other like combat sport. It came to our attention actually recently where a few people were talking about what's better to teach a beginner, or what way is better to teach a beginner. Should you teach defense or offense first? And there's people in different camps where it's like some people think like you should teach offense first. You teach a lot of, like say you're teaching jiu-jitsu, you teach a lot of submissions and then focus on defense later. So we have Cindy here so actually one of the reasons why I really wanted Cindy to chime in is because you're an official assistant here at UCLA, so you don't only assist my classes, you also assist other teachers' classes, and you said that others have the opposite approach to me. So my approach is I teach a lot of defense first, right? And then but since also you've been here you've been assisting classes for a couple years now, right? Yeah. So you can see some of the long-term results. So I guess we can kind of talk about go ahead and give us your thoughts first, and then we can kind of add more.
I think it's just different. Is pedagogy the right word?
I think so.
But definitely opposite from what you believe. I think maybe it's more for like a class reason than I don't want to say profit, but like retention purposes. They like to teach more offense to begin with just because it's exciting. You get to punch someone, you get to submit someone, and that's gonna keep people more interested in the class and they'll stay, versus what you want, which is probably more like a strong foundation and like more practical training. But that's no shame against the other instructors. It's just their approach, and their students are just as strong, just as like technique focus, whatnot. But one of the other instructors, he says like you're most vulnerable when you're punching, and I think that goes for grappling as well. You're most vulnerable when you're also going for submissions, because you're not thinking about getting submitted yourself if you're on the offense. So I think it's great to have a strong base or foundation in defense, because you won't understand how to go on the offense if you don't know how to defend it yourself. And I think definitely should be taught hand in hand, but I think defense should be just taught first.
Yeah, because I've seen, actually this is apart from UCLA, one of the gyms I would work with, they only wanted to do or they thought catch wrestling had some brutal submissions, and they only wanted to focus on that. But it's they never wanted to work on wrestling or how to control someone to get the submission. So they progress very, very slowly, right? So I guess you get these people where it's I only want to focus on that, but then if you spar or whatever, then you're gonna have a hard time being able to even get your brutal submission.
Yeah, because even if you're just rolling to begin with, the only thing you're thinking about is surviving. Mm-hmm. So you might as well survive with the best defense as possible, Mm-hmm. Even the other instructor who is a 3rd degree black belt, and he's competed a bunch, and he does boxing, he does MMA, but he was under the impression that catch wrestling was just trying under that brutal impression that catch wrestling is just trying to get that submission as fast as possible. But it's not right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that unfortunately maybe that mentality is prevalent, so then people think in a weekend I can learn catch wrestling because maybe I'll learn a series of submissions, and they'll be painful against especially a non-compliant person or a compliant person, and so then I'll feel I got this,
Yeah.
But there's more to it than that. Yes, one of the things that so basically a long time ago, one of my coaches I went to train with him privately in Arkansas. His name is Billy Robinson. He's like really hyped up a lot, and rightfully so in the catch wrestling world. But he told me personally, like he felt that it was better to teach a lot of basically teach the defense stuff first. So a lot of times we call that mat wrestling. So all the stuff on the ground, all the different escapes, all the different ways to move. And one of his examples that he gave me is like say you start teaching like takedowns. Say I guess maybe like judo, right? Like really takedown oriented, and you feel really great, like being able to like get a big throw on someone. But if you don't know what to do, like say if someone takes you down, then when you're sparring and you go for your takedowns and you fail, right? And then all of a sudden you're trying just to survive. He says then he felt that students would get shy, or like they wouldn't want to go for a takedown because they're like, oh well, I had this experience, traumatizing, where I thought I was so confident, and then like my whole world shattered once someone better than me like took me down and just like owned me, right? So I think that's mostly because of him, but I think it was really logical. What Billy told me, like, say you teach like a lot of the foundation stuff first, and I guess you can try to make it as interesting as possible or whatever, but yeah, to make it exciting for them. I guess you can kind of think that way, where it's like, hey, you're escaping, some big person is trying to hold you down, but you can't be held down.
I think that's such a good point. Like, it boosts your confidence when going on the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if they try to do it to you, you know how to defend it.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to just get, like, slammed down and owned, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of the things. But I think we can also talk about, actually, I think one of the bigger examples that, that, like, I kind of want to talk about is not catch wrestling oriented, but in our Sanda kickboxing classes. So I teach a lot of the parrying and a lot of people consider catching kicks to be like just something very difficult to do, or like almost virtually impossible. But it is very common in Sanda catch wrestling, or Sanda kickboxing, and so even from beginners in our class, we go over a lot of the defense, right? So you're kind of going over offense at the same time, because you got to be able to throw a punch and kick, right, to be able to even practice the defense. So we do all kinds of like drills and like partner work and kind of like sparring, where only one person can attack and stuff, and the other person has to parry or get out of the way or catch kicks and stuff. So I feel like, even over one quarter, or students who stay with us throughout the whole year, like they are hard to hit, right?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that as well?
No, they're really, like, I've been doing it for like almost my whole 4 years here, and I still am surprised at how well they can parry. Like, that's their first instinct. They don't get hit in the face easily, and even when I'm kicking, like, I don't expect them to catch them sometimes. I'm good at escaping catching kicks, or my kicks when they're caught, thank goodness, because they are good at catching kicks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and because I think that's the thing. Like, you'll totally find like all these different like kickboxing experts, like kickboxers and like Muay Thai people. They'll say that too. And actually, I even heard some people say like, oh, it's virtually impossible to like catch a lot of these kicks. Like, you will see it in like pro kickboxing, pro Muay Thai, but it is like, you'll see it a lot more in Sanda, and but yeah, it's like, I think that's kind of a testament to teaching defense, right? Because I think you will learn, like offense at the same time, but in a way, I personally feel it's like a little bit more realistic, because it's like you're kind of showing them like the consequences of like being offensive. Like, well, you could. Your opponent can easily like parry or get out of the way, or like grab you. In the case of Sanda, right? Grab you and throw you down, like suplex you or whatever. So yeah, I think we have enough evidence.
I think the better word for defense, what you teach is more counterattacks, which I like, because like you teach what to do like once you catch a kick, you teach what to do once you like parry. So I think counterattacks would be a better word, but I think either way, like a strong base and defense it'll help you understand the mechanics of the offense. It'll help you like how to finish a submission. Like if you understand how to defend it, it'll help you understand like the consequences of what happens. So
So I'm glad you've seen that.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So I think that's the main thing. So I guess maybe for someone listening or watching, it's like, it might seem boring at first, but like learning, say for catch wrestling, learning the mat wrestling. So all that stuff, all the escapes or all the sit outs. That's basically what it means. Like sit outs, hip heists. If you have a partner to like be on top of you, like whether you're in referee, like turtle, like finding ways to escape, and then like once you understand those moves, you can add all your counter like submissions, counter pins, and all that, so that you're not scared to like attack someone when you start from standing, right? So you don't just pull guard, right? Yeah, and then for kickboxing, it's like that's the other thing where it's like you aren't necessarily, you're not running away, right? You're not getting this. And that's actually one of the things I tell the students, right? Like whenever we do these types of drills where only one person is like striking and the other person has to only defend, I always tell them like you can do, now you're free to do any kind of defense, but except running away.
Yeah.
Right. That's annoying. Even in like professional boxing or like any even in freestyle wrestling, when someone's like up on point and then all of a sudden they're kind of like disengaging, trying to just keep distance. It's sad. I'm sure it's like really frustrating. Like really frustrating for like the person who's behind. They're like, please just give me a chance to take you down. It's sad.
And I think, and it kind of goes back to, or like, I'm not gonna lie, like the back take or like the back position is a really strong position in jiu-jitsu, but people fear it a lot. And I think it's just because they don't know what to do from there if they're caught with your back taken. But like, I'm not afraid to get my back taken. I turn turtle a lot. So that's because I know how to defend it well. So.
Yeah, totally. And and I think all that stuff is well suited for like a sub only, which is like sub only tournaments are in a way more realistic than points, right? Yeah. So I guess like don't ever feel shame if you lose by points in a point tournament. Like even ADCC, right? It's like it's still for half of the time it's points. So like don't feel bad even if you lose by points, because it's not like that. At least you didn't get submitted, right? Yeah. So totally, I got all the back take stuff is like part of catch wrestling, a fundamental part of catch wrestling. But now you see people even calling stuff like fundamental wrestling, like mat wrestling, like turtle guard and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, like all these different sit outs or sometimes you kind of roll for like a knee bar and stuff. They all call that like a turtle guard. Jiu-jitsu always tries to like take in everything and then call it
their own.
Yeah. Even though you do see like jiu-jitsu books from like the early 1900s, like not having any of these like fundamental wrestling techniques, but.
I mean, I've heard it before. I've heard someone call my turtle my guard, which is like, I guess, just my technique is what they meant, I'm sure.
Yeah, because it was so defensive.
Yeah.
That they couldn't like get any offense on you. Yeah. So I guess some people do try to equate like referee's position to like the catch wrestling guard, but in a way it's still a little different. It's way more offensive, I think, than a guard, right? Because guard is like they're still really getting their legs like in front of you or in between you and them, so it's like you are trying to resist them, but like you're actually giving your back, or if you're like facing them, like and you're on hands and knees or whatever, a lot of times you are like trying to like lunge forward to get their legs, or it's like way more aggressive, I think. Yeah. But I think like a seated guard, or if you kind of like lie back on your side, and you do try to pull someone in, it's like, yeah, you do try to control the takedown, but it's still like, I think even more heavily defensive still. Like
Yeah.
if they try to counter you, you still try to keep your legs in there.
Or like when you first start, you pull guard to avoid the takedown.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's probably like the main reason, right, for all that stuff, to
Yeah.
get rid of the guard, or to get rid of the takedown. Because if you get a good takedown, a lot of times you land past their guard.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm sure people don't even want to deal with that. So there's like, oh, just sit down.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I think it's good, like a good amount of stuff for anybody watching or listening to think about. Truly, it's like catch wrestling in particular is not just like these. You don't just dive in for something and you try to grab onto something and see which way you can twist it to get a submission. It's way more than that. It is wrestling. It is like, it is where Olympic freestyle came from. It's where our collegiate or scholastic wrestling in the United States came from, which is some people, if people are from other countries, just know that what we do in our schools wrestling wise is different from Olympic freestyle. I think it's we got more turtle guard in there, so we can scramble a lot more than Olympic freestyle. So, but yeah, it all came from catch wrestling. So, and that kind of defense oriented way of teaching, it can really pay dividends in over time, right? Anything else to add?
I think in the long run, it's just better. I mean, of course, learn them hand in hand or at the same time, whatever. But I think, yeah, it's just in the long term, it's better to learn defense or counterattacks better in the beginning and build a strong foundation in defense than to build a strong foundation in offense.
Yeah. In a way, it's kind of satisfying for me, like as the coach too, where it's like if we like spar with someone and then instead of just like pinning them quickly or just like seeing them like scramble and hip highs and get to a better position, like it's pretty cool. It's actually very cool seeing that.
Yeah.
All right, so it's probably enough to we've said that's all we have to say about that.
Yeah.
Right. All right, so if you have any questions or want to talk about anything, put it in the comments below. We'll check them out. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Hopefully this helps you to elevate your grappling skills, and then together we can keep real wrestling alive.